welcome back to Life Group again this week. Just a couple of announcements. We are starting a brand new series this week called Happy.
Bring me down, I said. Bring me down. Can't none bring me down. The love is too high. Bring me down. Can't none bring me down, I said. Clap along if you feel.
Okay, so also Venue 101 starts this week. So if you have not attended the Growth Track Class 101, you can go to that this week. And lastly, if you are passing out candy to trick-or-treaters this Friday or Saturday, make sure that you give them a Venue Church invite card. You can pick them up if you don't already have them from your life group leader, and they'll go ahead and give them to you so you can give them out to people that are trick-or-treating. Make sure, though, if you give them out, you give them out with good candy. That way they're not just getting an invite card to church. No kid will be happy about that, and the parents will think it's weird. So, okay. Anyways, God bless. Let's go ahead and get into this today.
You can do this, Lou. Just gotta believe you can.
You fight harder than those other guys, and you win.
Come on, Louie! Keep pushing!
Come on, Lou.
We're not dying!
You are nothing. Come on. Come on. Unbroken.
So as you just saw from the trailer, this past Sunday, we took a look at the movie Unbroken and talked about perseverance. And we kind of opened up this whole message with a scripture from James. It says in James chapter 1, verses 2 to 4, it says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." It says, consider it pure joy when you come up against different kinds of trials, because that kind of faith that you have to use there produces perseverance, which eventually leads to maturity, and you're not lacking anything. Can you think of a time in your life when maybe looking back on it now, the trial that you faced actually caused you to think differently about life now, about relationships now, about different decisions that you might make now? You look back on the past, a trial that you faced, and you would completely handle it differently right now. You could even say this, that those trials from your past helped to make your life better today. Now, when you went through those trials at that time, you weren't thinking, I am so glad, I am filled with like pure joy right now going through this trial because this trial is just, it's going to help me later. No, you don't necessarily like the trial when you're going through it, but on the other end, you can see the benefits. And so here's the first question for tonight. Can you share an example of a trial you faced that grew your faith muscles for today? So this Sunday, we also talked about two principles that help us to persevere and overcome our trials. The first principle that we talked about was do not focus on the circumstances. Now, why would you not want to do that? Because if you're focusing on the circumstances, you're not focusing in on God. So you're magnifying everything that's happening. You're magnifying everything that's going on. At the same time, you're not magnifying God. When you look at what God can do and who He is and what He's promised for you, if you're magnifying Him and your circumstances suddenly become a little bit smaller. The other principle we talked about was don't just look at the character of others. Work on your own character. Because if you're always looking at, well, it's his fault, it's her fault, it's the circumstances' fault, it's all these things that you can't control, guess what you're not doing? You're not taking ownership of the circumstance. And that doesn't mean that you're taking the blame for everything that's happened. It just means to say, as of right now, it doesn't matter how I got here. It doesn't matter who did what or who said what or who didn't do what or how the situation all panned out. Maybe it's not a who, maybe it's just a what. But you're saying from here going forward, I'm going to work on my own character and how I'm handling the situation. Because if you never take ownership for it, you're always going to feel completely helpless in the situation. Like you can't do anything about it because you didn't cause it to begin with. And ownership isn't about who caused, it's about what am I going to do right now. So the prayer really isn't, can you change him, change her, change the situation? It's usually, Lord, can you change me? Can you make me better? Can you give me wisdom? And so here's the second question for tonight. How does applying these two principles change how we look at our trials? And lastly, for tonight, we took a look at a passage from Luke chapter 5 where Jesus is speaking to a large crowd next to the lake. And listen to what he says here in Luke chapter 5, verses 4 through 6. It says, "And when he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, 'Put out into the deep and let down the nets for a catch.' And Simon answered, 'Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything. But because you say so, I will let down the nets.' And when they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break." How many times has that thought stopped us right in our tracks? Master, we've worked hard all night long and have came up empty and have caught nothing. I've been working at this issue, this problem, this thing in my marriage, or this thing in the workplace, or this emotional issue that I've been carrying my whole life, or this depression, or this physical ailment, or whatever happens to be happening right now. I've been working at this, God. I've been working at this, Lord, and I've not caught anything. Nothing has changed in my life. What would have happened if Peter would have looked at the circumstances? We fished all night, we haven't caught anything. What if he would have blamed everybody else for his issues of not catching any fish? Someone else told him to go to the wrong section of the lake. It was blamed on someone else, or maybe blame it on the fish or whatever it was. But Peter didn't look at the circumstances, and Peter didn't necessarily look at somebody else's character. He disobeyed God. And this is another scripture that we had brought up on Sunday. Actually kept on repeating it over and over and over again the whole morning long. It's a scripture found in Luke chapter 18, verse 1. It says this, "And then Jesus told his disciples a parable to show them that they should always pray and not give up." That scripture in Luke chapter 18 is the heartbeat of perseverance. Matter of fact, it's the heartbeat of faith. That no matter the situation, no matter the circumstance, no matter what it looks like, even like Lazarus was 4 days dead and Jesus arrived there late and then rose him from the dead. Your situation is never too late. You're not too far gone. Always pray, never give up. It's a motto that we use for our lives. Like, I don't know that I would be the same person if it was not for this scripture and applying it to our lives. So here's the last question for the night. Take into account this scripture from Luke 18. What does this scripture mean to you?